coming up on 5 o'clock, and we are going to be sending WKDH and WLOV back to regularly scheduled programming. By that, I mean we are still monitoring this tornado potential, and we'll be bringing you updates as needed. On WTVA, the newscast that is WTVA News at 5 will be starting right now.
First in HD, live, local, late breaking. This is WTVA News at 5.
Wave after wave of powerful and violent storms push across North Mississippi as area residents are forced to pick up after all of the damage and a lot of destruction. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sonia Walls.
And Sonia, I believe that was some of the tornado video that was just sent in to us just recently. Incredible situation. We start our team storm coverage tonight. First in the Weather Center, where WTVA's chief meteorologist Matt Laubhan has been off and on all day and all last night tracking these deadly storms.
Yeah, let's go straight over to Matt right now. Hey, Matt, what's the latest?
Okay, latest situation, as we mentioned a minute ago, we still have a tornado watch box in effect for most locations in the WTVA viewing area. That's because the tornadic potential has not ended. I will say that we are winding things down. That does not mean we're taking our foot completely off the gas on this coverage, but we are winding things down. The end line of this thunderstorm complex right there, as you can see, approaching, moving through, that'd be Union County, as well as locations. Why am I blanking right here? Zoom it in for me, please. Pontotoc County, there we go. And then stretching into Calhoun County, moving toward the east. You'll have to stay with me. My brain's a little bit fried after today, as is Jen's and John's. It's been a very long day. This last line here, moving east, will signify the end to our tornado threat today. Maybe some heavy rainfall. Let's not dwell on it. Wider perspective, we go down into Monroe County. Monroe County has had 3 or 4 tornadoes touching down today. The most recent storm to try to do that, now tracking toward the east into western Alabama. This thunderstorm, tornado warned, similar in nature to the storm that caused all the damage north of Amory near Smithville, still very strong. This hail core here, and that's what this part of the thunderstorm, this is all hail. That's why we don't dwell on it. But it's big. It could be in excess of 2 inches in size, and that's going to track toward Hamilton. It's this part of the thunderstorm back here that has the rotation that could be a tornado, and that's what we're tracking. The motion on this toward the northeast, it is tracking, at least for the short term, along 270 into and through the northern extents of Lamar County. Watching for us very closely for Amory. There is some rotation with that. And then as we come down to the Golden Triangle, we have tornado warnings in effect for Oktibbeha, Lowndes, and also portions of Clay County. This thunderstorm, no history of producing tornadoes. Frankly, it's the final one in the line, and that sometimes can produce tornadoes. That's why I'm a little more on top of it than I would be based upon its storm structure, is because typically when we have one of these, we have to really analyze it closely. But right north of Artesia, about halfway between Artesia and West Point, let's wait for the scan to come around. About halfway between Artesia and West Point, right there, along basically the county intersection of Oktibbeha, Lowndes, and Clay counties, right there is where there could be a tornado tracking toward the northeast. Even though we have not had the reports, we have to respect this storm in particular. It's the southernmost storm, and these a lot of times do produce tornadoes. Let's widen it out and mention that we will track this as it goes toward Columbus, and if we do start to get reports of tornadoes on the ground, we're going to do some more extensive coverage. Amory, severe thunderstorm warnings for you, and this line overall non-severe. The next couple days will clear out. We'll have more time to assess the damage situations. What we anticipate happening is National Weather Service crews from Memphis, from down in Jackson, and even some potentially from Birmingham for some of our counties in western Alabama will converge on northeast Mississippi and western Alabama to assess what are we dealing with tornado damage, straight line wind damage, things of that nature. And as they do, we'll bring you more reports as to exactly how many we've seen, but I would not be surprised to say we've seen at least 10 or more tornadoes, and I could be underestimating by an order of magnitude. It's been very, very significant. We'll monitor this weather situation and bring you more updates as needed, but let's get to some of the information from the damage reports we've had from today.
All right, Matt, I had just a quick question for you. What we experienced, you know, the last few days have been very violent. Would you call this like supercells hitting the viewing area? Yeah,
definitely supercells, and this would qualify as a number of tornado outbreaks. Jen, let's widen this out. Let's go really wide. I want to go regional, and actually I'm going to come over there and help you out on this. The reason why we've had this happen is because we essentially had, and let's see if we can pull up the inside forecast on this. There we go. What we had happen is an upper level storm system, and a number of them. We had a jet stream pattern where the jet stream drove from the Intermountain West. Let me get a little squiggly line on here. So the jet stream kind of funneled down like this. And essentially, we had storm system after storm system that swooped through the area. As that happened, it left us in a pattern that left us likely to see tornadoes for not just one day, but a multiple day event. And so as a result, as this storm system that right now is in the boot heel of Missouri, as that continues to lift toward the northeast, it will take the primary tornado threat with it. So what's happening is we have drier, cooler air that's punching in from the west, and as part of that will clear things out. So we still have in the lower levels of the atmosphere very rich moist air that's flooding up for Alabama and locations still in extreme eastern Mississippi, but now this threat is beginning to wane as these winds shift more out of the west. That makes the thunderstorms rotate a little bit less.
All right, good question.
Yeah. All right. Kalisha, I believe, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. We've had crews out all over the northeast Mississippi viewing area today trying to find out where all the damage has been and that sort of thing. Earlier today, the real concern up in Alcorn County, specifically Corinth, according to the mayor there, was some flooding situation. Our own Kalisha Whitman is up there right now with the very latest on what's happening there. Kalisha, what can you tell us?
I can tell you that in Corinth, the flooding is nothing compared to the way that it was the last time there was a flood here. A lot of the water has receded now. Earlier today, residents said that flooding was a very big problem, but thankfully the water has gone down. I did get to talk to some residents who said that it's usually an issue like that in Corinth whenever there is a lot of heavy rain, so that they just kind of prepare for that. I can tell you now that I'm actually standing beside a couple from Ryenzie who had to escape from a storm. I'm actually going to head there to Ryenzie with them now. They said their neighbor's house sustained a lot of damage. So just down the road in Ryenzie, we have damage from some winds and what they say that they believe was a tornado in Ryenzie. And here in Corinth, you know, the flooding that took place. So the residents that I've just talked to say they're thankful that they were able to make it out alive and to be safe today. But just in Corinth, a lot of the water, like I said, has gone down, and residents are happy that it wasn't the same situation that they had in times of the past. But for now, we're in Corinth on the way to Ryenzie. Kalisha Whitman, WTVA News.
All right, stay close, Kalisha. We'll try to check back in with you a bit later. Well, severe weather blew through Webster County, causing mass destruction as well. Power remains out for many residents in the county. You can take a look at the damage to East Webster School in Cumberland. This school has grades 7 through 12, and as you can see, the damage is so severe that the school was closed today. School officials and law enforcement were on hand as well to assess the situation, with the prognosis being not good.
We got there about 4:30, and we knew it was bad, but we didn't realize it was as bad as it was. And basically, it's a total loss at the school, you know.
And Principal Bill Brand tells WTVA News that East Webster High School and Junior High and Elementary School will be closed through Friday. And WTVA's Drew Powell has more on the damage in this area coming up tonight on WTVA News at 6.
Well, a tornado made its way through the streets of Belmont early this morning, causing some extensive damage and power outages around Highway 25.
That's where WTVA's Justin Lewis spent today as crews fought through the conditions to clean up the damage.
It sounded like the front of the house had actually come apart. The noise was so loud.
Sydney and Patricia Perry took shelter in the bathtub of their Belmont home when the tornado swept past, causing this pine tree to fall on their home as water rushed in.
In the living room, most of the shingles are gone over the living room, and a lot of water damage inside the living room.
The only injury reported in Tishomingo County came when the tornado flipped this mobile home several times, the resident inside escaping with only minor injuries. And it wasn't long Wednesday until storms came back, causing flooding in Belmont at around 10:30 this morning. Another interesting sight was pieces of this red tin popping up all around. It comes from a storage shed at the baseball field and ended up in trees, backyards, and even brought down this pole and power line.
I actually got very sick in my stomach after seeing all of it. It was very emotional. I'm worried about my neighbors, you know, and then they all started coming out, so I knew everybody was okay, and that made me feel a lot better about it.
Roofers, along with electric and road crews, continue to try and clear this area, but storms are continuing to surface. In Tishomingo County, Justin Lewis, WTVA News.
And early this morning, WTVA's Robert Byers went straight from the WTVA morning set right here to Union County.
And that's where our team coverage continues.
We are in the town of Myrtle, where the most damage happened after last night's storms, but officials tell us that there is damage throughout the county. One of the most severely damaged homes is this one on Highway 178 in Myrtle. Jennifer Bishop and her 3 children were asleep as the storm approached. That's when they received a possible life-saving phone call.
My sister-in-law called and said that there was a tornado headed our way, and I woke my children up and we got in the hallway in our safe spot.
They rode the storm out without anyone getting hurt.
I was laying on top of my kids just thinking, please don't take, please let us be okay, just praying. All 4 of us were just praying.
Jennifer's father and the county's EMA director surveyed the damage a huge tree did to the house.
My little grandson was in the room when the tree came through, but he just got up and got out of there just a few minutes before it happened. Yeah, it had me worried, boy. I jumped up, man. I got on a trail, man. Come on down here,
A mile or so away, this home in Myrtle also had a tree fall on top of it. That was the scene throughout the town as large trees came to a rest in yards and sometimes across roads. Power lines were also taken down. A mobile command post was set up in the middle of town as crews surveyed the damage here and countywide.
We did a rescue mission to see if anybody, a search and rescue mission to see if anybody was in any of the houses that has the trees done on them.
Luckily, Clayton says no one was injured, and he says that may be in part to a more alert public.
I'm going to say that the new weather radios and stuff that we've got, a lot of them in the county off of a grant a couple years ago, is paying off because it's waking people up and they are being prepared whenever the storms hit.
And as another round of weather started to move through, county officials and residents say they're prepared, but hoping they've already been through the worst of it. In Union County, Robert Byers, WTVA News.
Thanks a lot, Robert. And make sure you stay with us. We have a lot more coming up on WTVA News at 5. We'll have an update on the conditions from a very hard-working, our chief meteorologist, Matt Laubhan.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break, but as we do, we're going to take a look at some of the pictures that you've just sent in to us as well, and we appreciate that very much. Here's some of those pictures.